Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, coming to you from 3 socially distant studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. You can find all of our previous works at heartlandmamas.com on all podcast platforms. We live stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. And, of course, video is available on YouTube. And don't forget, we are proudly part of the Demcast USA network. So, Marie, who do we have today as part of our candidate series?
Well, when we're talking about the Great Red Divide, we'll just let our listeners know exactly what we mean by that. And our candidate today is kind of right in the middle of the Great Red Divide. So we call the Great Red Divide the areas in urban that slowly push out more rural and have been typically declared as being very red. And they're actually not. And the momentum is changing, and it's interesting to watch. So because media is so tightly controlled by the right voices, and not right as in, yay, correct voices, but right as in, conservative voices, Heidi and I needed to create a bridge to those folks out in the red land who are blue. And that is what we have today, folks. We have an amazing woman running for the 94th House District, and that is the Quincy area, correct?
In the state of Illinois.
Yes.
In the state of...
It's Quincy. Yes, it's Adams County, Hancock County, Henderson County, and half of Warren.
Okay.
Okay, and we are talking with candidate for the 94th Illinois House State, Angel Smith.
Hello!
I lost my note. I'm like, I know this. So we're really excited to have you on. One of the things that interests us is your amazing background and your dedication and service that you've already shown to our country. So tell us a little bit more about you, where you come from, and why you're running.
Okay, well, I was born and raised in Quincy, Illinois. I have deep roots here on both sides of my family, back to the 1850s. I joined the military when I was 22, and I served for a little over 12 years.
Wow.
In the Navy, active duty enlisted. I served in California, Hawaii, Texas, and England. I served as a Russian translator, so I had a top secret security clearance, and I listened to a lot of neat stuff.
So now there's something that's even more interesting, is that not only do you come from a long line of family from Quincy, the area, but your dad was also in the military, right?
Yes, I think that primed me for military service as an option for my life, because he was a Navy veteran. He didn't talk about it a whole lot, but when he did, he talked about it with pride. And so that was always an option for me in the back of my mind. I did go to college when I first left high school, but I dropped out after a few years, and so that just seemed like military was a natural option for that.
It's wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you for your service.
And now your dad was in the Navy too, is that?
Yeah, he served.
Is that why you chose Navy?
He served, I don't know, like 1 or 2 tours, not too many. He was a little bit rougher around the edges than I am, so he kind of got pushed out because he got on the wrong side of his CO.
My dad too.
It probably was a pretty common occurrence. In my dad's case, he somehow managed to get his hands on 2 military IDs, one with his correct age, one with the drinking age. So, and when the CO found out about it, he's like, "Okay, you can go in the brig or you can get out." And
Oh, man!
my dad has to get out.
Understandable.
Yeah.
So now, what I think is also interesting is that, you served for 12 years, you said, right?
Yes. Right.
And then when you left, which being a Russian linguist is crazy cool, because like I have an 11-year-old son, he's my youngest, and he decided that he wanted to start learning Russian. So he's doing Duolingo learning Russian, but that skill set is amazing, because what's even more amazing is than you understanding another language and understanding intelligence is that you're able to understand the nuances and pull out things that someone else might not have missed. And I think it makes you a more complete listener because you really have to listen.
Yes.
And I think that probably is amazingly helpful for what you're doing right now, campaigning, listening to people.
Yes, that's correct. I like to tell people that I was a professional eavesdropper. So, and we had to listen for what we called essential elements of information. So I listened for substance. And it's not something I thought about when I was in the military, but that's what I do when I'm listening to people as well, including on the campaign trail. It's like, what is the substance of what they're asking about or talking about, and focus on that.
And it's not the words that they use, which Heidi and I have spoken about so many times.
Yes.
We love you so much. Angel Smith, 94th Illinois House District. If you don't, I swear if you live out there and you don't, you're going to get a mama-sized no wag of the finger. Because think about what we need in America, in Illinois, in politics, right, is we need someone who listens, someone who discerns what the real message is through the chatter.
Right.
And you have an experience at such an amazingly high level that I think that qualifies you indefinitely, in my mind.
Thank you.
Having a great qualification.
I am a great listener, that's true. I think what really makes me a great listener for voters in the 94th district, though, is that I'm also working class. You know, I grew up working class families. I'm still working class. I live paycheck to paycheck, and I get it. You know, people are worried about their mortgages. They're worried about health care. They're worried about COVID-19, and I'm right there in the thick of it. So I get it, and I'm not going to, you know, make some kind of cosmetic gesture and walk away, because I'm in the middle of this too. So I am listening. I've got those listening skills, but I'm listening because I'm affected by all of this too.
You know, I love in reading your bio that you're employed at the Quincy Veterans Home, because we know here in Illinois what happened under the Rauner administration at Quincy before you were there, and probably some of the time after you were hired on there, and the advocacy that's called for our veterans in our veterans home system here in Illinois. And I love that your job in helping guide the home through your work, that you're listening to the needs of the people there. And I think you can connect a lot with people who are in that same boat. Murray's father is in the LaSalle County Veterans Home. My dad was a veteran, and on a long waiting list. He passed away before he got in. Lived at home until almost the very end. But it takes a special person, especially in COVID-19, to work in a nursing home, and especially a veterans home with these people who are so very lonely and so very scared right now. I mean, there's so much going on with the staff and the residents there and the caretakers. So I just want you to speak a little bit about your work there at the veterans home, and being a working class person. I'm telling you, we need people who make an average wage.
Yes, we do.
To bring legislation to the state of Illinois to benefit working families.
Yes.
So go ahead and let's talk about those two things. Okay?
Okay. Well, yes. I currently work as the secretary in the medical office, so I work for the nurse practitioners and the doctors. So I also schedule medical appointments. But working in that office helps me understand, because of their work, the challenges facing us due to COVID-19, and also, just the day-to-day health challenges for the residents as well.
And the insurance challenges and Medicare challenges.
Yes.
And I'm sure that you get inundated with, so you are on the front lines, not only working with veterans and understanding the importance of health, but on the other side, you also see the bureaucracy and the ridiculousness of some of the things that happen, right? So if anyone in their right mind doesn't say Angel Smith is the right choice, I mean, if you're thinking,
she's living the life we're all living right now.
Right?
Well,
but also,
I can tell you this. If I get elected, I'm going to be taking a very close personal interest in how the vets home is run, not just Quincy, but all of them. Because I work in the healthcare part especially, I see a lot of the bureaucracy that causes issues. And it's just bureaucracy. You need somebody in a position of power saying, hey, let's clean this up. And I will be doing that. I guarantee it.
Thank you.
I mean, so we have this amazing woman who went to college. She is a Navy veteran. She came back home, got a master's degree, is working at a veterans administration facility, a veterans home, who has experience and understanding in listening as having been a linguist. She has an intimate understanding of how the bureaucracy works of the government. She has a master's degree. I mean, come on. She is, and she's a union member too, right? AFSCME?
Yes. Yeah, AFSCME.
And they endorsed you.
Well, they should. I hope they will.
That's right.
Like the process for endorsement. I have been endorsed by a couple other unions, the Illinois level AFL-CIO, which I think is the parent organization.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yes, and I've also been endorsed by the Illinois Federation of Teachers.
Wonderful.
So I have a couple of union endorsements already, and other endorsements as well from a few other organizations.
You know, in addition to all of your amazingness, there's something else that we had talked about a little bit, and it's a real emphasis for you. And this is more to Heidi's realm, and that is farming, agriculture.
Yes, I, growing up in the rural Midwest, surrounded by farming, my stepfather was a farmer as well. He mostly grew soybeans in rural Missouri. I didn't have any reason to question how things worked back then, but especially as an adult now and wondering where my food comes from and seeing that, the system it's not geared towards producing quality food. It's geared towards producing commodities and putting money in the pockets of a few large corporations that own the farms. We have all these people think that these tax subsidies go to hardworking farmers who are running the tractors and working in the fields, and they're not. Those people, the people who are running the tractors and working the fields, are workers who are being paid probably a really bad wage with no benefits, and most of that tax money is going to the corporations. So there's so many things that we could do to change that flow of money, first of all, and also to reverse the flow of resources. There's just these cycles of bankruptcies that we have every 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Farmers have to go bankrupt, they get bought out by corporations, and it's just the consolidation has to stop. I mean, we need to diversify more. We need more family farms, smaller farms, maybe even cooperative farms. But that's a financial stability issue, and it's also a food security issue as well.
That's another amazing issue to be addressed, and we've talked to a lot of state candidates. And while John, early on in our series, mentioned farming, I think the way that you're explaining it with the tying to food deserts and food insecurity, it makes so much sense. And I think even those farmers out there are going to be like, hey, what she's talking about makes a lot more sense.
Well,
yes.
So I think
I want to see that our food sources get diversified. Actually, this kind of ties in with my Russian background because, I remember reading, years ago that one of our weaknesses as a country from a external attack point of view is that our food production is concentrated in a few areas. And so someone would just drop a bomb on a few places in the country and cripple our food production.
Right.
And so if we're going to have a more secure food safety system, we need to have more diversity. We need to have more farms spread out, more production facilities, smaller ones spread out. That spreads out the jobs, that spreads out the financial prosperity, and it also spreads out the risk.
Right.
For our food system.
Diversity. My son has his degrees in ag economics, and he talks about crop diversity, biodiversity, all the time as being a pathway to more sustainable farming, and better equity in farming, and which is exactly where you're at. And we know, especially after the tariffs, that we cannot stay in corn and soybeans and expect to be successful. We're going to need to diversify, and we need to make sure that the money's going out to family farms and not just the big corporate entities that even surround where I live. And most of the family farmers I know also have another job, another full-time job.
Exactly. Yes, right.
Because there's no way to make it otherwise.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you about a couple of really crucial issues that will also be on the ballot. I wanted to know how you feel about fair tax, which fair tax is going to be a very hot button issue. I know we didn't really talk about this in pre-show, but fair tax is, going to be on the ballot. So I'd like
Yes.
you to speak to how you feel about fair tax.
I 100% support it. The Illinois tax structure has been inequitable for decades now, which has led to higher taxes for the middle class and, virtually no burden being placed on the upper classes. And that sounds like class warfare, but essentially that's what's happened. And that was deliberate. That was why that tax structure was put in place.
Yes.
And that's why we've had financial issues as a state for so long. And that's how we address those financial issues, is by equalizing the tax burden. So yes, I'm 100% supportive of it, and it's going to take money away from people who don't really need it anyway because they have enough, and put money in the pockets of people who need more money.
Right.
Because they're the ones who are producing all the wealth. The workers are producing the wealth.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've seen that in
And the myth is that, they're job creators,
Yes.
but they're not actually job creators. They're mercenary capitalists.
Correct.
Which is a big term that Heidi and I use, and it fits.
Yeah.
Because, it is the just because you create jobs and you tie people to employment based on insurance,
Yes.
doesn't mean those jobs are quality jobs or good
Nope.
jobs.
or pay a living
Every
wage.
time we have tried trickle-down economics, well before Reagan, it hasn't worked. Presidencies before FDR, we were already starting to hit these desperation phases because of how we're running it like a business with this mercenary capitalism. And when you have presidents, Heidi and I are big FDR fans, come in and do even out taxes, do social equity programs, build a progressive agenda, you have so much more thriving and success. So I love that you have this rural background, yet this world experience,
Yes.
as well as this focus and deep understanding about the problems that we face. I think you're just a really great candidate.
Oh, thank you.
So
Well, my focus is on centering the marginalized, really, and so that's why I'm focusing on workers. That's why I'm focusing on transparency and accountability. That informs all of my platforms. You center the marginalized because that's where the resources need to go, and that's how you fix all the larger issues as well. Center the marginalized.
those small problems keep growing and snowballing until you have epic poverty. And I know your area deals with a great deal of poverty, as does my rural area. Once you step outside the ring around the collar counties, we start dealing with epic levels of poverty simply because our living wage is not where it needs to be. And I know we're on track to improve to $15 an hour, but we know that we're going to need to do better than that. And would you like to talk about that a little bit more? Because I know we talked about that in pre-show. It's a platform that I embrace. I see people, we're seeing that right now with the denial of the $600 per week that the government was going to give, which is $15 an hour times 40 hours. And people are like, well, that's way too much. No, that's not enough. It's not enough. So if you want to go ahead and expound on that a little bit, that would be great.
Sure. Yes. Well, there's a couple different ways to measure it, but minimum wage since the late 60s hasn't kept up with real income wage growth or with productivity. So if it tracked with those pretty well, we would have a minimum wage of approximately $21, $22 an hour.
Right.
And that's a minimum wage. It's not even the thriving wage. So the $15 an hour minimum wage movement is great, but that's just the start. And we also need universal health care. We need better paid leave, just better benefits in general in order to provide just a better quality of life for the people who are actually producing all the wealth in this country, which is all the workers. Labor produces wealth, not rich people handing out money.
I noticed that my daughter was working at a grocery store when COVID happened, and she worked here at the farm and was teaching riding lessons and training horses, and her dad and I wanted her to get out and meet more people. So we said, go get a job at Jewel. So she went to work there, and then the pandemic hit, and I'm like, wait a minute, we don't really want you working at the grocery store. But she had to, because they needed essential workers. And they gave her a raise to $11 an hour. Well, she can't move out of the house on $11 an hour. She can't live on her own. When I was, now I'm a little bit older than you, but when I moved away from home when I was 17, I was making less than $4 an hour. I had my own apartment. I had a car. I had a car payment. Now, my parents were still paying for my insurance. And some months I couldn't afford to have a phone. And some months I couldn't afford electricity. But
Right.
I was able to live fairly independently because the minimum wage was, enough to be able to be self-sustaining. It isn't
Right.
now.
No, it's not even close. No.
So, would you be advocating for the state to go beyond $15 an hour, or do you think that we're kind of on a pathway?
Absolutely, I'll be pushing for a higher wage, and the minimum wage should be tied to economic indicators. So I'm not too sure how that would work out. Like I said, because the minimum wage, if it had tracked with real income wage growth, and if it had tracked with productivity, it would be much higher than it is now. So, but we would have to have some mechanism for keeping the minimum wage on track with the rest of the country.
Yeah.
It can't just be set and done for 10 years. That's never going to work. It's
No.
never going to support workers. It has to be tied to some economic indicators so it keeps tracking with, increasing costs.
I know Murray and I had interviewed Andrew Yang at one point when he was running for president, and we talked to him about the UBI, Universal Basic Income. And It occurs to me after all of this was said and done that making sure that we have a UBI, that we have a universal basic income based on what you're making, and then making up the difference, I think, especially in the time of the pandemic, has some validity and something I'm hoping the federal government will explore as we try to recover our economy. We know that giving people $600 more per week really kept our economy fairly strong, even with epic unemployment.
Right.
Unemployment.
Yes.
So I applaud you for wanting to talk to, keep the conversation going about what is a legitimate minimum wage, and understanding that 15 is just not going to cut it. We have more people living at home right now as adults than we did in the 1950s, and that's got to stop.
Yep.
So the other thing we wanted to talk to you about was, we know Michael Madigan, the head of the Speaker of the House, who's done some really good work for the state of Illinois, who's also the head of the Democratic Party of Illinois, is under fire right now. And we know as a candidate, I know as a candidate, I didn't know him, never met him, so,
Right.
and you're in a third-tier race, he's probably not on the phone with you every day. Hey, Angel, this is Mike Madigan, and yet the Republicans always try to tie us together, like we go and have dinner with them, like we travel in the same social circles as a millionaire. So, tell me about how you feel about you had a really great statement about that, and it really appealed to me. So go ahead and expound on that.
Yeah. Well, as a candidate, I'm supporting better transparency and accountability in state government. And that's how you avoid these kind of scandals in the first place. If you have that transparency, if you have that accountability, then it's just a lot harder to get in a position where there is a scandal in the first place. So, I don't really know anything about Michael Madigan. I've never met him. I don't know the entire scandal that he's buried in right now, but transparency and accountability. Let's find out what happened. Let's do the investigations and move forward and make it a better system for everybody. Transparency and accountability results in better government, results in better use of state taxpayer dollars. It's the lack of transparency and accountability is associated with corruption in world governments, and it's true in every other government as well. We need transparency and accountability at every level.
Very,
and
very
and
well
you're
said.
absolutely right. And from my end, societally, it all plays together. But the more transparency that you have, more truth in advertising, the more legitimacy, facts, the more science, the better a nation does, the better a state moves forward. And so
Yes.
it's not just an issue as far as transparency for, I think it's not just an issue for having transparency with deals that are made and contracts that are given out, but it also increases the trust level of the citizens. If
Yes.
we don't trust our legislators, everything is that much more difficult.
We have
Yeah.
to be
So I
able
think you're
to
absolutely
trust
right.
the process and the people driving the process. So I love your intuitiveness and your insight on this issue. I think that those are very important things. Now, let's talk about something fun. Do you have any fundraisers or anything coming up?
No. Well, COVID has, tanked doing fundraisers, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, we sent out a fundraising letter a few weeks ago, and we got some money that way. And the Democratic Party in Adams County is reviving, and we're starting to do county fundraisers, so I'll be participating in that as a candidate. But as far as events, it's just, fundraisers are about volume of people in a small space giving you money. And you can't do that right now.
No.
So it's a real challenge. Another way to raise funds in COVID is to have like a really good database. You have good email addresses and good mailing addresses, so you can send out those letters and send out those emails. Well, we don't have those either right now in Illinois 94, and we're working on that. We're rebuilding those databases, but that's the other thing. You have to have good information, and it's a process. So
if I wanted to donate, where could I go to?
I have a website, and there's a button on there that you can donate through ActBlue. So you go to my website, angelsmith4il94.com, and right there, I think on the first page, or maybe every page, I don't remember, you can click on the donate button, and it takes you to the ActBlue website, and you can donate through there.
Your
Wonderful. Now, if I'm on Facebook and I'm looking for Angel Smith, 94 Illinois, is there a button on your Facebook page that I can donate with?
There, Facebook has been a pain.
Yes.
So I do have
True.
I do have a Facebook page. It's Angel Smith for State Representative, and there's the link to the website there. We weren't able to get a button on there to donate just because Facebook was.
I know. I exactly know what hassle
Yeah.
you're going through right now.
Yeah.
Completely.
Me too.
So listen up. Go to Angel Smith, the number 4, correct?
No, it's the word 4. So Angel Smith, FORIL94 .com. Yes.
Awesome.
We will make sure that we get that out there.
We
but
will
you
link
guys,
that.
You have to help out. Even if it is $10. $10
Yeah.
buys like 4 signs.
She's not
Which
asking you to
helps
fast.
a candidate immensely.
Yes, it does.
Or if you love our friend Angel here, you can probably help her out with phone banking or other various things, correct? Are there volunteer opportunities?
Right now, volunteers are dropping literature in the area. So I do have some walking literature, and where it's going out to all 4 counties.
Wonderful.
We don't have phone banking set up per se right now, again, because of the database issue. We just don't have really good information.
Yeah.
But there is the state level REV program, and so I don't know if I should know this, but I don't know if you can do it by region or by precinct or district or whatever, but there is that as well if you want to help out.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, there are ways, but the only way that you're going to be able to help or donate or share or like is if you go to Angel's website.
Yep.
Angel, tell us again what it is one more time.
It's Angel Smith, ANGELSMITH 4 FORIL94.com.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Very good. So, Angel, thank you so much for being our guest today. We'd like to check in with you closer to the election and before early voting begins.
Great, I'd love that.
There's so much good information on your website. I think it was one of my we interview a lot of candidates. Yours is one of the best websites I've seen.
Oh.
Very well put together.
I think her plans are actually more detailed than some of the presidential candidates that we're running. I'm just going to say, you have thought about this, you have researched it, you've put together intelligent, articulate plans. And I know, guys, I sound like I'm repeating the same thing over and over again, but you have to understand, she's not just a jack of all trades, or jack of all trades, master of none. She's actually wide. Her experience is not just wide, but it's really deep. And Angel is definitely someone we need to look at and get out and help out.
I'm an information nerd. When I want to learn something, I want to learn all about it. And so that's how I approached putting out my website. Here's everything I want you to know about me, and maybe a little extra. So you have all the information you need to make an informed choice for your vote.
Well, that's wonderful. And I want everybody to be sure and check out her website. We'll make sure and post all the links to everything and step out, because we need voices like Angel's in that part of Illinois, in that rural
all across the country. We need voices like Angel.
Yes.
Just good accountability, common sense, forward thinking. An advocate for working people. Yeah, intelligent. It's such a good. It's such a refreshing thing to see, because we see so much foolishness right now.
I know. Yeah.
So thank you so
get
much.
out, vote.
Yeah.
Make a plan. Do it early. Do it often. And if you live, somewhere else.
Not often. Just once. But vote for Angel.
Do it early. Make a plan. Find your vote box. But be sure to get out there, and in the 94th, please get out there and vote for our friend. She is amazing, Angel Smith.
Yes. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Angel, thank you, and we'll see you again real soon. Take care, everybody. Remember to find us at Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com. Find us on all podcast platforms and on the Demcast USA network. Thank you so much again.
And YouTube. If you like seeing my goofy faces, which I make a lot of them, you definitely want to watch the YouTube. All right. Thanks again, everyone.
Take care now. Bye-bye.